Good morning, everyone. This is Russell Rucker, and I'm here for another constitutional talk. You know, I spent yesterday down at Printers Row Book Fest in Chicago. And when you're out in the public discussing Constitution and the issues, you come across people that are nervous about whoever may be in power, whether it's the one side complaining or the other because they're out of power, thinking that change will come and they'll be able to change something to do something to their benefit. And I think what's important here is to take a look at Article 5 of our original document. And it says, Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to the Constitution or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the states. So, if we're going to change something, it requires 2/3 of the legislature, which is nearly impossible because one party generally never has 2/3 of both houses. And in fact, the way it is today, I think the one party has 10 or 12 more seats than the other in the House. It's maybe 4 more in the Senate. And that's just not enough. 100 seats in the Senate means that they got 45. The minority has 45, when the majority needs 66. So you have to have both parties sign on to anything. Then, once it's submitted to the states, you have 3/4 of which would have to agree on any change. We live in a two-party system primarily. And there are a lot of people trying to work to get a third party up, and that's been going on for 100, 150 years with minor parties, Free Soilers, the Union Party, Farm and Labor, the Libertarian Party, the Constitution Party, the Green Party, the Socialist Party, the American Constitutionalist Communist Party. There's just there's no shortage of political parties that people are trying to lift up. But primarily, we're in a two-party system. And when some third party gets enough power, then their agenda is generally co-opted by one of the other two parties as a way of survival. A lot of people want to point to the Republican Party in 1854 when it was first formed, citing that's a third party. But it wasn't a third party because the Whigs disbanded, the Free Soilers disbanded, disgruntled Democrats came in, and they all formed the Republican Party, the new Republican Party. So in essence, you only had two parties at the time. And we've never been in a situation where we had a strong enough third party to do much of anything. The most successful third party in history was the Socialist Party in the beginning of the 20th century. But by the time you get to Franklin Roosevelt's term and the New Deal policies, much of their agenda was co-opted into the Democratic Party. All that said, you shouldn't have to worry about constitutional changes because it's designed to move very slowly. Trying to get 2/3 and then 3/4 to sign on anything, just to get a majority out of Congress is almost impossible. Most bills die. And we're talking about constitutional amendments here, which is a much more serious situation. So, this pent-up fear that something's going to occur really isn't going to happen. There's an ebb and flow. If you look at the political viability in this country, when you have one party that rules for 4 or 8 years, and then almost always the opposing party comes in. So it goes back and forth with these different factions, with nobody achieving all the power. And that's what our founders designed. They designed a situation where no one would achieve too much power, no single person. Now we can look at George Washington, who belonged to no party, and where he cites the dangers of the rise of political parties, where the loyalty of party will replace the patriotism of country. And that we have definitely seen a tremendous amount of that over the years. But you have to have a large enough majority to achieve a true tyranny. And that's what people get all pent up and worried about. So let's just take a break and realize that you have one faction in power now, and in a few years you'll have another faction. It's the ebb and flow of the country, as designed. The slowness of change. Washington talked about the saucer and the coffee. So what's the saucer for? It's to cool the coffee. Why do they want to cool it? So hotheads in the House of Representatives that can be swept in one term can't change the entire system, because you still have to get through a Senate that takes 3 terms. And then it still has to be signed off on by a president. The only bill that doesn't have to have that happen is an amendment to the Constitution. And there, 2/3 of a majority is a large group. In 3/4 of the states, it makes it virtually impossible for amendments to actually get through. And if they do get through, there's something that the great majority wants anyway, because the sheer numbers of achieving it require that. So if you get nothing more than that today, an understanding of exactly how our system works, it's a good thing. And we have a good system. We have a good 2-party system. Sometimes we wish they were different 2 parties, and sometimes we're voting for the lesser of 2 evils, as a lot of people think. But the ebb and flow of the political dynamics in the country are such that no one man can destroy the republic. And that, my friends, the founders stated numerous times, that no 4-year period would be long enough to destroy anything. So with that in mind, we'll catch you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. You folks have a good day now. Bye.